Hey humans, it's Jaffe. I was about to go to bed and I saw this tweet from a pal, John Garvin. It reminded me of the many years, well, 2 or 3 years after God of War 2018 came out, where people would ask me, why haven't you played the new God of War? You must be salty or angry or upset. And it was really interesting, especially in light of John's tweet, which I'll show you in a second. John, if you don't know, is the director and writer of Days Gone, Siphon Filter, the whole series, a bunch of stuff. He's working on a new game called Ashfall. But it's interesting the difference between us, because I continually told people, I said, I just am not interested. It didn't feel like I was angry or upset or anything with it. I was very happy for the team. I'm very happy for Corey and the people I knew, Shannon and Yumi and all the folks who had worked on it. That I worked with as well back in the day. It just never really bothered me. But then I look at this tweet that just came through from John, and somebody was asking him, it was more hypothetical because it doesn't sound like, unfortunately, there will be a Days Gone sequel, but someone writes him and says, would you play the sequel to Days Gone if somehow they continued it into the future? And he says, no. Why would I play a sequel to something I spent 6 years creating, writing, and directing? Days Gone was mine. Anything created without me isn't real. Now, I support John and his view, and I'm a big fan of John Garvin as a fan and as a friend. I'm just interested in talking about this briefly because I can't relate to it. And that doesn't mean that there's a right or there's a wrong. It may speak to a level of involvement that John had with Days Gone that I simply didn't have with God of War. And God of War is in my fucking DNA, man. But maybe with John, he's just like, I approached it differently, or I write differently, or I create differently. But, and I'm sure John is not, because anytime I've talked to John, he's been nothing but heaping praise on Jeff Ross and the team and Sony. The idea that Days Gone is his, I'm sure he feels that way, just like Jeff probably feels that way, and the team feels that way about certain aspects of it. But just saying that, though, which I don't think is taking anything away from the team, the fact that he feels that way and that any sequel that comes after it isn't real, that's just fascinating to me. I never felt that way. I know a lot of this, but John's response is what I think a lot of people thought I would feel. So it's quite possible John's response is the more normal response, is the more human, healthy, I don't know, response. Whereas my response, a lot of people seemed taken aback by. I was just kind of like, meh, cool, I'll play it. And I did play it, and I loved it eventually. I just didn't want to play it till I wanted to play it. But maybe people expected me to be like any God of War after God of War 3. It's not a real God of War. They should call it something else. That's not how John talks, and that's not John. But I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting that you can have different creators have different responses to that. Mine was apathy. John's clearly, I guess it sounds like he would prefer, it's like, and no, I don't think they're making a Days Gone sequel, but I guess like he would prefer going, don't fucking touch it. Go make your own fucking thing. Works for me. Just interesting. Interesting. Good night. Hopefully I'll see you at the interview tomorrow. See ya.